Hi, this is Dave Summers, and we're back with episode 9 of the greatest supply chain challenge in history. I'm here once again with my friend and mentor, Sandy Vosk. Sandy is the founder and owner of Advantage Technology Solutions, absolute thought leaders in the supply chain management space, both the people and the technology side. If you have questions or concerns about stuff like that, please get in contact with Sandy. So, Sandy, we're back here with episode 9, and I think you want to talk about risk today.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Good morning. And I kind of wanted to pick up and stay on this global trend because not just risk and volatility, there's a quote, and you'll put up the source of the quote, which we didn't even realize till a few minutes ago from the 1780s, but it's something that resonates strong with me. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And I learned that lesson, a very valuable lesson, many years ago when I left Pepsi, I went to Mutual New York and ended up running the 7 by 24 365 operation. I was MIS director. Truly the hardest thing I ever did. Uh, Truly. And one of the things that I learned in that was it didn't matter if you got everybody's requests and you scheduled the jobs and you executed the jobs and you printed the jobs. If you didn't deliver them on time to the person who needed them, you failed. And they didn't care where it broke down. They just cared that it broke down. And I was studying total quality management at the time and really learning and understanding these principles, which were core to me. Years later, I took that you're only as strong as your weakest link. And obviously, that's key to the global supply chain. And that's why, we lead with that today. So, the good news is we're now up, March 11th, we're now up to 326 million doses globally in 121 countries, according to Bloomberg. 8.35 million doses a day in the US, 95.7 million doses have been given, averaging 2.17 million doses a day and rising. Now, at this rate, they're still saying the estimate is 6 months in the US to cover 75% of the population and make it quote unquote safe. But that's on the 2-dose vaccine, and it doesn't include Johnson and Johnson 1-dose vaccine. And yesterday, quite nicely, President Biden ordered another 100 million from J&J, which will be coming, later this year. So that's really great news. On a global basis, though, we're talking about 8 billion people. And, what was surprising to me, I have to say, I had to look up, so great, we're up to now 121 countries, but how many countries are there in the world? 195. So there's 74 countries that haven't had a single dose yet. And we still get inconsistent data and infrequent data from many countries in the world. So you're only as strong as your weakest link. This is a global pandemic. And so it resonated with me. How does that resonate with you in the things that you do?
Um, I I think it's really interesting in that, on our side, the United States, we have the highways, we have the, rail system, whatever. We've got ways of moving things from place to place. But globally, it just strikes me that there are challenges that don't have that infrastructure, and that I think puts us, I think, in a better position.
Yeah, in so many ways. And on top of that, we talked about, risk and volatility. And, so what's volatility? That's the pessimist view of the world. But things liability to change rapidly, unpredictably, and in a negative way. So that's really, it's not like positive volatility. Hey, all these great things are happening on, on a surprise. No, it's all these negative things, which is not to be laughed at because there could be very significant consequences. And, in the virus, right? There's new strains that have to be factored in. There's resistance to getting vaccines, not just here in the United States, but globally. And how does that impact the speed and ability to get enough people vaccinated? And then, the real key for us in this conversation is unexpected distribution challenges, right? We had the storms, but last Sunday, New York Times had an amazing article. You'll put up the URL at the bottom. And just there's a supply chain crisis right now. And a key example of you're only as strong as your weakest link, the root issue is there aren't enough shipping containers, the containers that hold the product. They're not in China, they're not overseas, they don't have enough to ship. We have ports backed up. We have products that are now being asked astronomical prices to store it on a shipping container, to store it in a warehouse. This backlog is going to have negative ripples, and not just short term, for the long term that we're going to have to manage through. I mean, So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I read that news story last week, and you could have just knocked me over with a feather. I mean, a shortage of shipping containers. I mean, there. I thought they were ubiquitous. I mean, you can't turn around with like seeing a shipping container, right? It was amazing to me. I was stunned.
And that article, I hope folks read the article because it's really good and educational about what happened and why. So it's a great story, and it kind of leads us to the three questions, for this week. So, in business, how well are you managing risk in your business today? Insurance, resources, supply and demand planning. If you don't have enough supply and now you have to order, and what is it going to mean in terms of cost and time to get product? The second one would be, how does this supply chain crisis impact you? And what's your action plan this quarter and maybe throughout the year? To your point of the ripples, there are many ripples of what's going on right now, and it's going to affect a number of, many, probably all companies in the supply chain. And the third, I think, is, really to ponder, right? What's outside your radar today, but could result in substantial damage to the company. That could be a customer leaving that you think was happy, an employee, key employee leaving unexpectedly, or one that's kind of near and dear to what I do, a cybersecurity hit, which could blow you out of the water, right, as a company. And it's really outside of the radar of most companies, unfortunately, to a sufficient degree. So that's, I thought, was great, thoughts and kind of how to apply this week's lessons. What do you think?
That's amazing. I'm in total agreement. And if anyone does have some answers to those questions you've posed or wants to reach out to you, Sandy, we have provided your email address on the page. And Sandy is very happy to respond to any questions or concerns or even suggestions for upcoming episodes for the program. Sandy, it's been a great program. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much. And you too. Have a great day.